Okay, so Kim, I was talking to a teacher and she said she's using a scripted program, like a good one, a good scripted program. And she's enjoying using it and she gets it, but she said she's teaching grade 1. And this is December of grade 1. And she said, but half my children aren't getting it. And I thought, what? Like she said, half my children are just staring at me like deer in the headlights. Like they really aren't understanding. And I'm on lesson, let's say like a good number of lessons, like 48 lessons
Wow.
out of 100. She's already done 48 lessons out of, I don't know, 200 or something. It's a lot in grade 1 that she's already done, and they're not. And I said, are they blending? Like, are they blending words? Do they know their short vowels? Yeah, I think they know their short vowels. What? After 48 lessons, we have to I'm going to use your words, slow this train down. We
Absolutely.
cannot take a scripted program as good as it is, and some of them are really good, and expect our students to all keep up. And I know, we're going to have a group of students who are going to need the extra small group practice, and we're going to have a group of just a tiny group of students who are going to need really much more intensive. But half your class? No, 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 no. So what would you say to that? Do you want me to say what I
Well,
would say? Because I'll tell you what I
I
told her, and then you can, or vice versa. Let's see what you say.
I'm going to I say this enough that it won't be new to a lot of people, but resource never replaces teacher knowledge. That we have to have teacher training and teacher knowledge so that we know how to effectively use the resources. My partner, my husband, works with computers, and people are always asking him why other people don't copy his design, and he says, well, a fool with a tool is still a fool. Right? We can have the resources, but if you don't know how to use them effectively, they're not going to be effective. And I feel the same is true with educational resources. We have so many educational resources, but I think if you've listened to Emily Hanford Sold a Story, we know that some of the resources we've been given have not been effective. But that's why we need that teacher training so we can be critical thinkers of the resources that we've been given. So even though a resource may be evidence-based, we still need to have teacher training and that teacher knowledge to know the importance of progress monitoring. And if the students are not learning at the rate we're going, we need to monitor how our instruction is actually working. And so if students are not moving at the same rate that we are moving, then we need to slow it down and repeat some of the lessons, because as we know through research that a lot of these lessons need to be repeated over and over again before they are mastered or consolidated by our students.
And we can add, like I love, we always want to keep it fun, right? So we can repeat a lesson, but we don't have to repeat it the same way. We can add a new game to it. We can do the same spelling pattern. Let's say we're still working on, not that we will have to stick to CVC until every single last student has mastered it. I don't think that's not what I'm saying, but we can, like in grade 1, yeah, you're doing CVC, you're doing everything to do with CVC or short vowels, right? You're
Yeah.
distinguishing, and you can do a lot of games. You can uh, uh, a lot more games. And what I said was, are they really getting it in their are they really moving their hands and writing and printing and learning how to print? And I don't think that like knowing how to do that is really coming across. And I do want to say, like when you don't have the training of how to teach printing in a in a in an effective way, or how to do those visual and auditory drills, or
Yes.
what do we call it? The thrill of the skill, whatever you want to call it. Um, you have to have some training in that. And I will say this was a really dedicated, devoted teacher. She was so excited to get her hands on a scripted program because sometimes there isn't any other training, and that itself is some training, but it's not enough. It's not enough.
And I also think when teachers don't have the training, they become very married to a certain resource. Whereas if you have the training, sometimes you go through the resource and think, oh yes, I will use bits of this, and I'm gonna adjust that because this doesn't fit for my students. And I think if you have the training and the knowledge of the science of reading, you're able to adapt the resource for the needs of your students, because there is no one size fits all resource. So even though there are some great resources out there, you still have to know your students and use the resource and adapt it in a way to meet the needs of your students. And sometimes that means repeating a lesson. Sometimes that means repeating a certain skill a different way. Because if you have a scripted program and you're reading the script, some of your students may not consolidate that skill or that concept with that method of teaching or that way of teaching. They need to be taught in a different way so that it clicks.
And can I show you an example? Like a really quick
Yes,
example. Okay, so
yes,
here is my, whoops, here is Sid, obviously. And so this is just a little bit of card flipping. And although we don't really want to have children read a lot of nonsense words, this is a way to turn something simple like this into a game. So this says, well, first of all, we have to make sure they can blend. So you do it.
yes,
Right? And we always talk about blending being so critical. It's not okay to just go sid
right.
the rest your whole life.
Need that
So
stretchy sound.
so when it's a real word, even if it's sid, if it's a real word, you thump. And if it's not a real word, you don't. It could be as simple as that. I have seen children that when it's a real word, um, let's give another example. Here's a good one. Okay, so there's sip. It's a real word, but if we turn it, there, sim, not a real word. So they don't thump. But then my students, they might say to me, oh, but it's the beginning of simple. And I'll say, all right, then give it a thump, and just little things like that to turn it into a bit of a game. And all of a sudden they can't wait to read the next word. And
Yeah,
they're putting more effort into trying to blend those first two sounds with successive blending.
yes.
Continuous, right? Trying to get those first two sounds going and then adding the third. So we gotta keep it fun.
Keep it fun.
Keep it fun.